always can. She continued, we're sending some of our kids to school this year, and I'll be honest, I'm a little jealous of those who aren't. If homeschooling has even crossed your mind, take this as your sign. Do it. Make it work. Try it. Say yes. You'll learn your kids in a whole new way, what lights them up, where they struggle, how their minds work, and what they're really good at. You'll connect on a level you didn't even know you were missing. And the best part, you get time back with them. Real, precious time. Even if it's just for a season, it's a decision you will never regret. Don't overthink it. There is no one more qualified than mom. So I'm going to share a little bit about the why behind what I have done in our home. Doesn't mean that it works for everybody, but it's worked for us, and then what it looks like in our day-to-day. I hope that in sharing part of my story, it can help you see your own story more clearly. So it's messy, it's always unfolding, constantly changing, but I'm grateful for our family's story and for where we are now. I've always had an interest in teaching. My sisters and I, when we were growing up, we would set up an old video camera that we had, and we'd record ourselves teaching, and then we'd get a classroom. A lot of kids do that. So we grew up creating different things, learning new skills together, from sewing, cooking, painting, making music, reading, playing games, creating plays and stories, etc. The catalyst for my why was 4 years ago. My sister found philosophy with amazing free resources. She shared what she was learning with me, and I started noticing huge changes in her being that encouraged me to take a look at those resources as well. At this point, my oldest was turning 4, and I was pondering the idea of homeschooling, what his schooling would look like, but I didn't really have the intention of starting out homeschooling him at that time. I should mention that my sister has 4 girls of her own, and when she started looking into this philosophy, she had 2 of her girls in public school at the time. She was looking for an option that would allow her family to travel for a 6-month period, and homeschooling seemed like the best option for them. So that was a temporary thing that they were planning on. It was then that my oldest niece had a traumatic accident and was hospitalized for a month. And homeschooling no longer seemed like it was something that was out of reach for them. It seemed like the best route while she healed at home after she got home from the hospital. And it's become a way of living for them. Education isn't something they were checking off their list. They, as a family, were living in a spirit of educating and learning. And it's so nice to be able to meet the individual needs of our children and teach in the way we want to. Something that I really loved was that I could keep God and religion in my homeschooling curriculum, because that's really important to me and our family. And that's when I discovered The Well-Educated Heart and the research of Marlene Peterson. It's a treasure trove of beauty. There are so many wonderful things in this philosophy. It's summarized by the following statement: we are gathering a community of families who are learning the lost art of educating hearts through the arts. We seek to preserve a culture of faith, freedom, and family, and the love of the good, the true, and the beautiful. It was here I learned, as a mother nurtures her own heart and fills it with light, the same light will influence those around her, especially her children. So I started testing it out, and I was really conscious about the media, the music, the literature, and interests that we were bringing into our home. And I delved deeper into each of those study areas myself. I realized that as we slowed down to appreciate these things, that our hearts were being filled, our home was more peaceful, I could recognize the needs of my children better, and I was overall becoming happier as a mother. But I didn't know how this goodness could translate into a school setting for my oldest child, who was approaching his kindergarten year. At the time, I was expecting our 4th child. That same fall, I teach music lessons from our home, balancing housework on top of 3 kids under 5 husband and I started looking around at different options for our son. We visited a few schools, and the three of us felt good about him starting at a public school. Where I wanted to homeschool him now, I didn't feel up to the task of balancing all of those things. So fast forward a few months, and we could tell it wasn't a great fit for my son's needs. He started begging to be homeschooled, which I didn't think would happen, but he was excited about the idea of being home, being able to learn at his own pace, learn with me, staying with his siblings. There were a lot of things. His teacher and the resources available to him were great, but we still didn't feel settled in what was occurring in his education. So after Christmas break, we gave it a week and decided to try the homeschooling thing, and I was terrified. I had no idea what I was doing, no formal education in childhood education, and it felt very daunting, but I realized it takes courage to walk this path. I looked heavily into the research of Dr. Gordon Neufeld at this time. He wrote a book titled Hold On to Your Kids. He discusses the importance of trusted adults needing to hold greater importance to children than their peers. In the world today, we largely see a peer-oriented society rather than a family-focused society, and the effects of it are very clear. So one of his main points is that our children need time to be children. They need uninterrupted time of play throughout the day, where they create, solve problems, learn, discover. He says a child must have a sense that there's a certain security in the contact and the closeness of love and attention and so on. When that's there, the child will spontaneously go into play. For these golden play times to emerge, we need to do our part and ensure their relational needs are taken care of, provide the necessary materials and space free of stimulation. When these conditions are met, we can sit back and watch their imaginings take hold. We can be rest assured that it is not just child's play, it is creating the brains that will solve the problems of tomorrow. It was an environment like that that I craved in my heart to create for our children and with our children. So we started with the Bell Home Heart-Based Learning Education subscription, and the first month was amazing. We learned so much together, my three older children and I. We were creating opportunities to feel joy, and C.S. Lewis wrote, "Joy is the serious business of heaven." But there was no real way for me to test and measure the success of this philosophy I was implementing. It doesn't hold on to state testing. It doesn't hold on to sticking with a grade level. There's a lot of holistic learning and lots of phases of learning that a child goes through throughout their life. So I realized the only way that we could test this philosophy was by its fruits. And I wanted to share a few examples of things mothers have said about the well-educated heart philosophy. One mother said, "I'm starting once again to really internalize that what I do at home matters. I feel alive again. Rather than enduring motherhood, I have small moments of joy with my children. My joy and gratitude is overflowing, and I see the essential role I play in being a mother." Another, "Thank you for empowering me as a mother. I no longer feel it is a waste of my time, and a year ago I truly believed it was. I sit in awe constantly at how much my heart grows in this process. It hasn't happened overnight, but slowly as I make my way through all of this incredible information, I find myself letting go more and more of what others tell me I need to teach my children and trusting my heart instead. You've opened an outlet for learning on a deeper level. It is like," and this is the last one that I'll share, "it is like the world is really 1,000 times fuller, deeper, and grander than what we normally see and hear." But what does having a mother's heart in the right place do for her children? Helen Hunt Jackson said, "Oh, if the world could only stop long enough for one generation of mothers to be all right, what a millennium could be begun in 30 years. It's my hope that as we nurture our children's hearts, that we can become, or raise children to become, that generation of mothers and fathers that can create such a beautiful beautiful millennium. There is a nature journalist who we love to follow. His name is John Muir Laws. He has excellent free resources. If you haven't heard about him, definitely look him up. And I've learned a lot about curiosity learning from him. I think it's also important to recognize that he is this world-renowned scientist that grew up battling with dyslexia and has grown to overcome expectations and his disability. He grew up in school thinking he was stupid. Nature and drawing gave him a safe haven from the red pens. And his mom was very aware of his effort and found ways to support him in this, including encouraging his love of nature journaling by getting him started. Finally, he had 2 teachers in high school that helped him recognize the credit of his ideas, and now he's the author of numerous books, which is pretty amazing. In his book, The Laws Guide to Nature, Drawing, and Journaling, he shares the following excerpt. Rather than step into the realm of the unknown, embrace our ignorance, genuinely wonder, and look for an answer, we ignore the questions. Perhaps it's psychologically safer to stay on unknown ground. In schools, students and teachers are often expected to know all the answers to all the questions. If a pupil doesn't have an answer, it is assumed he or she wasn't paying attention or didn't study enough. Now, as adults, fighting for status in social and professional situations, the vulnerability of not knowing is still a threat. In any profession, answering "I don't know" can be viewed as a weakness. Some naturalists can name every species they see. Some doctors have a prescription for every ailment. Some consultants can produce an answer for every question. And I love this part that he shared. There is a special word for these sorts of experts: liars. No one knows it all. This pressure to look smart and competent keeps us from publicly wondering and admitting when we do not know the answer. It can also prevent us from trying new things, being open to new ideas, or learning a new skill. Being aware of the pressures that stifle our learning of a new, our curiosity, helps us to push back against them. Just went back. Let's try. Not knowing the answers is okay. In fact, it is where the fun begins. So now that's enough of my why I homeschool. I want to nurture my children's hearts. So now, what does it look like in our homeschool day? I want you to know that this has evolved much over the last couple of years to fit our family's needs and nap schedules and activities that we have going on. But right now, this is something that's working really well for us, so I'm going to share part of it. Our children are very motivated by what we call our self-start charts. So you can see a portion of that on the screen. Let's see, they have 4 tasks that they complete daily that are in blue. And then they'll get to choose other things that they get to do throughout the day, and you can see some of those in pink below. Usually, we will wake up, make breakfast together, clean up, get ready for the day, and then sit down to snuggle and read together, or go outside and play for an hour or so. A lot of different options in the morning. So when they're feeling ready, they sit down at the table and they begin doing art, copy work, reading, math, history, or plan to learn to make a new skill. Our daughter right now, she's 6 and she's working on a needlepoint. I've never done a needlepoint, so I'm learning with her, but it's really fun because she brought that to me and said, I want to do this. So I love that there's that flexibility. Sometimes this sounds like, for me, I love that plan. Right now, I need to put the baby to sleep and then I can come back to help how you need me to. Or if they ask for help learning a new concept, but my hands are tied in a household duty, I'll let them know I need X amount of time and then I can be there with them. And usually we work on math and language arts together. We gently use the good and the beautiful, like we use parts and pieces of it that are helpful for us. Although we have lots and lots of other great resources to use as well, so it does rotate. These mandatory daily tasks are very different from what you might see in a public school setting, although I assure you, they're getting many forms of education as we go throughout these different parts.
Sorry, it's kind of hard for me to see what's blue and pink. Is it the first four
Oh,
that are blue?
Yeah, these first four, I didn't notice that you can't see it on there. Those first four are blue, and then there's more under.
I was just making sure that I figured it'd be the first
Yeah,
one.
it is. It's the first four. So we do those ones every day. And then you don't see math on here, but we do have Good and the Beautiful math that they just do twice a week. And then they have another math that week. It's called Dream Box. You can see it at the bottom. That's really an awesome game opportunity for math learning there. Let's see. So I like to use these charts catering to the child's needs and learning levels. We prioritize arts and time in nature over curriculum learning. Although for some families, I already said that doesn't work as well as it does for ours. The trick is finding the sweet spot for you and your children and trusting the process. There's not any rush. You can go at your own pace. The learning's never going to end. The small moments every day begin to yield good fruit, and you'll see that add up through time. One of the norms we've come to love are our inspiration station times. This happens when my baby goes to sleep around 11. We all sit down at the table and focus on scripture study and memorization, prayer, and begin our study of the area of the world we're learning about that week. So this week, for example, we were talking about the Nordic and Scandinavian countries. We talked about stories, culture, history, foods, literature, music, and famous people from these countries, and have hands-on learning experiences with all of those.
Sorry, so is that just something that you research or what?
So that is under the Bellon at Home subscription that I have. It has a daily inspiration station, 4 days a week. You can choose whichever days you want. And it's just a little blurb, 10 to 15 minutes teaching about different areas of that country. And that's kind of a springboard for us to jump into whatever we're still interested in. So we've been really interested in explorers this week. So we've looked at a lot of explorers and books on biblio guides and internet archive, things like that.
What was that called?
Bellon at Home.
Bellon.
Yep. So B-E-L-L-E.
Yeah.
It's French for beautiful soul.
Okay, thank you.
So, and then A-M-E is the second word. And I think that the website is bellondream.org. I might be wrong with that, but I can send that with my slideshow. So because I allow each day to be a family discovery type learning, I don't worry about creating a lesson plan for each day. I learn alongside our children, which is very liberating for me because it's an open and go concept. Charlotte Mason said, self-education is the only possible education. The rest is mere veneer laid on the surface of a child's nature. Marlene Peterson is the one that has done a lot of, all of this research for the well-educated part. And she teaches on this pattern in its application to learning. She said, I would suggest don't attempt to teach any principle, doctrine, or academic subject until after you have sufficiently warmed and opened the heart. Leonardo da Vinci wrote, study without desire spoils the memory, and it retains nothing it takes in. And Plato agreed, knowledge which is acquired under compulsion retains no hold on the mind. Front and load the learning experience with story, rhyme, song, images, and love. And then make sure you leave room for the Spirit to do its work. When you ask all the questions and structure all the learning, you interfere with that individualized, customized spiritual learning experience. Saint Exupéry advises, when you want to build a ship, don't begin by gathering wood, cutting boards, and distributing work, but waken within the heart of man the desire for the vast and endless sea. So take away the spirit, take away the heart, and all that's left is purely academic. In a world where our children are growing up riddled with mental health struggles, anxiety, depression, media, video games, internet, AI, and family and friend problems with a host of other dramatic and life-changing experiences, our home should be a safe haven for them to to learn, to love, and to grow. Another scientist, Pestalozzi, uses the term sense impressions to describe the work for the early years of learning. The more children are allowed to touch and feel and experience, the deeper the learning will be in later years, which we're starting to see with our son, and it's really rewarding. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead. This is great. I highly recommend looking into the Thomas Jefferson Educator Educating. But I'm gonna go ahead and skip it. I just want to let you know that homeschooling can be really overwhelming at first, but I believe in you, your children believe in you, take a leap and believe in them, see the good in them, and take a chance on hope. So if your heart is telling you that there's something that's missing in your child's education, you're probably right. Go ahead and follow your gut, and if you're the praying type, just seek guidance through meaningful, heart-wrenching prayer. I wanted to share this experience. A certain man had a friend who was a beekeeper. Upon visiting him one day, he found his friend in great despair. "I'm ruined," he cried. "All my honey is bitter." The man carefully and thoughtfully considered the situation and then suggested they rise early in the morning and try to follow the swarm of bees to see what they were feeding on, which they did. And they found them at the back of an old abandoned bottling factory, where out back there were barrels of rotting, gooey, icky syrups from which the bees were filling their little pollen sacs and flying back to their hives. The man offered, "Change what your bees are feeding on, and you'll change the quality of your honey. By the fruits of our children's labors, we will recognize if they are feeding on positive or negative pollen, so to speak. And the time is now. It's not too early, not too late, so take a chance and follow your mother's heart." I'd like to close, and then if you have questions, I'm happy to answer those. This is a poem called "Heart and Art" by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. "Though critics may bow to art, and I am its own true lover, it is not art, but heart, which wins the wide world over. Though smooth be the heartless prayer, no ear in heaven will mind it, and the finest phrase falls dead if there is no feeling behind it. Though perfect the player's touch, little if any he sways us, unless we feel his heart throb through the music he plays us. Though the poet may spend his life in skillfully rounding a measure, unless he writes from a full, warm heart, he gives us little pleasure. So it is not the speech which tells, but the impulse which goes with the saying. And it is not the words of the prayer, but the yearning back of the praying. It is not the artist's skill which into our soul comes stealing, with a joy that is almost pain, but it is the player's feeling. And it is not the poet's song, though sweeter than sweet bells chiming, which thrills us through and through, but the heart which beats under the rhyming. And therefore I say again, though I am art's own true lover, that it is not art, but heart, which wins the wide world over." Okay, any questions?